Hello, Year 4. Welcome to your flipped classroom for maths this week. So we've only got a few days left this week until we break up for the Easter holidays. So this maths video is all about equivalent fractions because we're going to do some work this week on equivalent fractions. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to do a flipped classroom so that you can just get a little bit of pre-knowledge about equivalence. Now, we did do equivalent fractions during lockdown, but I do understand that a lot of you may have found that quite challenging, especially working from home and maybe not having all the resources there. So I'm going to show you things that we can use in school to help you understand equivalent fractions. So the next thing you're going to see is a blank table, and then I'm going to add stuff to it, and I'm going to be explaining and talking to you about equivalent fractions as we go along. At the end of the video, I'm going to chuck in a couple of mental arithmetic questions for you to answer as well, but I'm going to speak them out. You need to listen and you need to write your answer down. Okay, so let's get started then with equivalent fractions. So like I said, you're going to see a blank table on the next screen. Okay, here we have one whole. This bar is one whole piece. It hasn't been cut up into any other pieces. We've got one whole. So we say that this is one whole. Now, one whole can be made up. We can cut this into many different fractions. So I'm going to cut this into two fractions first, okay? So imagine I've cut it in half. I now have two fractions there. This is one half, and this is another half. So now you can see that my one whole is made up of two halves. So I can say that one whole is the same, or the equivalent, as two halves, okay? So, but we can take this even further. I can have a look at these halves and think, what are these halves made up of? So I'm going to just take a half here, just point it out for you a little bit. And then I can say, right, two of these red ones represent 1/4. Okay, so this is a quarter and this is a quarter. So now I've got 2 quarters that make up 1/2. Okay, so 2 quarters is the same as saying 1/2. And I can put my other 2 quarters over here so that we can now see that 4 quarters are the same as saying 2 halves. 4 quarters are also the same as saying 1 whole. So you can see how equivalent fractions are now beginning to take shape and work. So we've got our 1 whole, we've got our 2 halves that make up a whole, we've got our 4 quarters that make up a whole, but we also have 2 quarters that make up 1/2. We can go even further with this. Let's check I get the right colors because there's two yellows, shades of yellow. I think it's this one. Okay. Now I'm going to have a look at 1/4. I can make 1/4 up using 2 of these yellow ones. Okay. Now these yellow ones represent 1/8. So 2/8 make up 1/4. So I'm going to add another 2/8 here, another 2/8 here, and another 2/8 here. So now I can say that 1/4 is also the same as 2/8. Okay. 2 quarters are the same as 1/2. And 4/8 are now the same as 1/2. Can you see that? How they are all the same. So I've got a half. A half can also be 2 quarters. 2 quarters can also be 4/8. So 4/8 is also the same as 1/2. So hopefully you can see that. Okay. Now let's put this back together. So we've got our whole. Our whole can be 2 halves. 1 half can be equal to 2 quarters. And 2 quarters or 1 half can be the same as 4/8. 2 halves can be the same as 4 quarters, and 4 quarters are the same as 8/8. So you can see here that 1 whole is made up. Okay, so if we just decided to split our whole into 8s, okay, we would look at it like that. If we wanted to split our whole into halves, we would just look at this. If we wanted to split our whole into quarters, we can do this. But if I said, what is 2 quarters the same as? 2 quarters is also the same as 4/8. It is also the same as 1 half. And then if we put it all together, you can see that all of these fractions, because a fraction is when we take a whole amount and divide it into equal parts, they all, when they're put all together, they all equal 1 whole. But hopefully you'll be able to see here that a whole can be made up of 2 halves, it can be made up of 4 quarters, and it can be made up of 8/8. And there's many more different fractions that it can be, but this is just a good way to begin with. You can also see that a half is made up of 2 quarters, and also a half is made up of 4/8. But we can also see that just 1 quarter is made up of 2/8. So these are equivalent fractions. You can always rewind the video and always go back just to have a look at that again. But of course, when we're in class, we will be looking at that in a little bit more detail, or maybe looking at different fractions that we can say that are equivalent or the same as, because that's what equivalent means. It means the same as. So now let's go on to our mental arithmetic questions. I'm only going to ask you 5 questions. So I'm just going to get my little notepad ready so I can write my answers down. You need to listen very carefully to these questions because they're not on the screen. I'm going to read them out to you, and you just simply have to write them down, your answer down. So question number 1, what is 352 add 416? So that's what's 352 add 416. Question 2, what is 428 take away 117? So what is 428 take away 117? Question number 3, what is 4 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 2? What is 4 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 2? Question 4. Now this is a bonus question, so to check that you've watched the video. Okay, so it's not going to be a maths question. This question is going to be a grammar question. When writing a fronted adverbial, what punctuation must come at the end of a fronted adverbial? Just checking that you watched the video. Question number 5. What is 32 divided by 8? I know I said 5 questions, but I'm going to throw in just one more just to finish off. Question number 6. This one, let's see if you know this one. What is 2/10 of 50? What is 2/10 of 50? Okay. You can rewind the video and answer them questions at your own pace if you want, but I'm now going to go through the answers very quickly so you can mark your own work. And then we'll revisit some of these in class, especially with the equivalent fractions. So question number 1, the answer was 768. For question number 2, the answer is 311. For question number 3, the answer is 40. For question number 4, now that was a SPAG question, it's a comma. We use a comma after a fronted adverbial. Question number 5 was 4, and question number 6, 2/10 of 50 is actually 10, because we do 10 divided by 5, by 50 divided by 10, which gives us 5, so that's 1/10, and we needed to know what 2/10 were, so we times 5 by 2, and that gave us 10. So well done if you got the questions correct. And I will see you in the next flipped classroom. See you later, guys. Good luck and goodbye.